Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I'm really thankful to have Steph here with us tonight. So, a little bit of why she's here and what's cool, and a little bit about her. I met Steph last year at Narrow. It was really cool. So Summer had met her the year before, I guess, or no, maybe in Punta Cana, and invited her to stay in the house. And then I met her at Narrow. And just since then, we've stayed in touch and chatted back and forth. And um, as Sarah was saying before I hit record, like I am a story person. Like what helps me grow is hearing people's stories. And I think in this business, it's important for us to listen to people who have done what we want to do or we're working to do, but are also doing it in a way that's authentic to who they are. And that's what I've always admired about her. She has a light about her that's like so fun and energetic. I wish she was like a neighbor. I say that to like coaches. I'm like, we could just have like this Beachbody neighborhood. We would all like hang out, drink Energize, work out in like the cul-de-sac, have a million kids running around with like water guns. That's like my perfect day, you know?
Awesome.
But it was just cool to connect with her at Narrow because it was not just business, it was like the Lord. And so, we talked a little bit this past year about like some of the things we're trying to navigate. And then I saw in her stories that she shared about time. And I know for all of us, time is a thing. We have moms on here that work. We have moms on here that don't work and like homeschool, moms with lots of kids, moms with a few kids, moms having kids. And I just think that I don't care if you have one child or 8, time is hard if we don't have a handle on it. And so when she shared that, I was like, oh my gosh, will you please come talk to the team? Because I think especially with summer, when the routines changes and the schedule changes, and it's funny how it can be so hard to try to find 30 minutes to an hour for our business because if we don't have any idea of how to do it. So a little bit about Steph. Her team is Team Be Fit. She is a wife and mom, 2-star diamond coach. She began coaching in May of 2014 while working 65 hours a week. She left her 14-year corporate career in December of 2018 to be a full-time mom and coach, which is super exciting. So I'm just so thankful for you to be here and for y'all to lean in, use the chat, ask your questions, like soak it up, and just know like what these stories show you is what you can do, and that's my hope. It's not what you can't, it's what you can. And so I'm excited to listen, and I got my notes ready to take. So I'm going to hand it on over to you, girl.
Oh, I love you. Well, y'all, thank you so much for taking time, and Kelly invited me to be on here. I want you to know that this call has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. And so what makes this fun is that we can jam out together and that I can serve you where you are, because I will be honest with you, like, I ain't anybody special. And I can have my hubby come in here and like air out all the things that I've done wrong, the things that I've messed up with this. But one of the things that, we preach a lot about in our team is being hot. And I don't just mean like Beachbody smoking hot, you know what I mean? Like humble, open, and transparent. And no matter what your story is, no matter what you're walking through, like that is always our heart check, if that makes sense. And so, while it's great to, share things like, oh, I've been able to leave my corporate job and all this kind of stuff. Like, I want to have an opportunity to just be hot with you guys on this call and not just share the things that are going to get you fired up. Like I was a former cheerleader. If y'all couldn't tell, like there's something crazy about this girl. That's why. But I don't want to just come on here and get you fired up. Like I want to be really, really honest, because I think in this social media world, and I know Summer talks about it, I kind of want to be like her when I grow up. Like, so I've known Summer for years from being on, like when she and Chad and the kids were in Columbus and we were on market council together. And I was just like, you're my person. So like she adopted me for a moment and there, and I was like, oh my God, I'm part of the cool kids club now. But I know she talks about this all the time, is like, how do you define winning for yourself? And it's so easy in this business and on social media to see what other successful coaches are doing and to have corporate or the business define, like, these are your metrics and this is what you have to do. But if you don't have joy in the journey, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. So I kind of want to get a pulse check from y'all catching this live. And then for those that are going to be on the replay, like I would love to kind of hear and connect one-on-one or help with Kelly in any way too for you guys. But for those of you guys on the call, how many of you are the full-time, busy working woman, mom, outside the home, and this is something that you're fitting in the mom cracks? Okay. Who are my stay-at-home mamas? I love it. All right. So let me just be honest. There's probably going to be a lot that y'all are going to teach me. And I am here like hands wide open, ready to receive it, because this is my first summer home with my kids. And I'm excited and I'm equally scared to death. If I'm just being honest with you, like, I don't know. So y'all, like Kelly said, when I first started this business, I was working 65 hours a week. I worked for Cardinal Health here in Columbus, Fortune 25 company. I worked in medical sales recruiting. So I was in the corporate office, calling on people. I recruited. That's what I did for my job. When I first started, I worked at a third-party firm, and my job was a little bit different in that we had a really low base salary. Like I think I made $35,000 a year, and I supplemented that with an additional like $50,000 that was earned in commission based on placing people jobs. And I only got paid when they stayed there for a certain time. And I recruited engineers, which is fine, right? So at the time that I was first presented with coaching, we had just closed on this house that we had saved money to build, and that was a nightmare. But literally, we left the closing table from closing on our old house, walked into the closing table with this one, and when we got back to our jobs, my husband walked in. He was part of a 50-person mass exodus layoff, like no warning, nothing. We are a 2-income household. We always have been. And so we literally were walking into a season where we were like, what are we going to do? And as a mom, as a grown woman, I know there's babies, so I'm going to watch it. Cover my mouth. I felt like I failed at life because that Christmas, like I had to call my mom and ask her to pay for Christmas for our kids, because it was either putting food on the table or doing Christmas. And that was like, what do I do? But I had a job where the more I worked and the more I did, the more I had the opportunity to earn income. And y'all, if I'm just being honest with you, one of the things that God has convicted me over the past couple of years was money sat as an idol on my heart. Money and title. Because for so long I grew up where we didn't have it. My mom was a single mom of 4 kids. My dad left when I was in middle school. Like we just didn't have any of it. And so we were going through, this was the second round of layoffs. And I was like, I got to hustle. I have to fix it because I can't trust that. Like I couldn't trust. And I grew tired. I struggled with the disease to please. I became so consumed with the stress and everything going around. How I did not become an alcoholic is beyond me, but somehow we never had enough money for anything, but I would find $4 to go get a bottle of $4 Chuck. And I would down a bottle of wine every single night, because if I was numb, it was like nothing was happening. And somehow I was still functioning through the fog. And so, and mind you, I had started like a year before this, I had already started my journey with Beachbody. I was 2 years postpartum with my youngest, who's now 8. And so I knew the programs, I knew the products, but I wanted nothing to do with coaching, because I was like, there's no way I cannot fit one more thing on my plate. And I couldn't do it. Fast forward to May of 14, it took one bad day at my old job. And I was in Disney World with my mom paid for a vacation for us all to go. And I'm like this, taking calls, like the happiest place in the world. And I couldn't even enjoy it. And I remember my husband got back to work, and I walked back I reported to the president of our firm at that time. And I walked in with my spreadsheets, and I was like, look at everything that I've done. I just closed the biggest month out of all of the professional recruiters, and I've been here for 5 years. Can we talk about a raise? And he looked at me and said, thank you so much for doing everything that you've done, but it would not be fair to everyone else if we give you favor. And y'all, I walked myself back to my desk and I picked up my phone and I called my upline, my friend, and I was like, what do I have to do? Because at that moment, that was the line in the sand. And I'm like, why am I killing myself? Why am I putting and at the time, my oldest, who's now 10, Emma was 5. She knew, 5 years old, she knew her mom's priorities, and it was work. She was down at the bottom. She was 5 and she knew that. And I was like, this is not, like, God put me on this earth to be a mama, and I am not living that out. And so for me, in the season that we were in, I had no extra hours out of the day. But one thing that I will tell you is no matter where you are, work situation, mom life, is that we all do really have the same 24 hours in a day. And one of the things that I realized was I was preaching how I didn't have any time. But somehow I would find 2 hours to binge watch Netflix and eat an entire sleeve of Oreo cookies and suck down that Charles Shaw bottle. And it wasn't serving me. Like, it wasn't helping to get the physical weight off. It wasn't helping with the mental baggage. And it sure as heck was not putting money in our bank account when we didn't have enough. And so I had to reach a point where something, I think Summer says it, if you want something different, then you must do something different, right? And I remember sitting back like, all right, I got to stop making excuses. And I think the one thing that we never like to talk about is that it's always going to be a process, you know? And at the time, y'all, I will tell you, I did not have a relationship with the Lord. Like, I grew up in the religion, but I didn't have a relationship. And it was this business that brought me back, that brought me home, that fixed that relationship. And it's funny how sometimes God has a way of placing people and situations in your life and putting you in scenarios that is going to make you uncomfortable because it's the only way that he knows it's going to get you to move. You know what I mean? And that was the moment that I was like, all right, like this is crazy. I can't explain it, but I've got to move and do something different. So you guys, my business when I first started really did, I was willing to sacrifice things short term, right? Like, I'm not going to be like a Gary Vaynerchuk to be like, bleed from your eyes and do it at like hustle 10X, like meh. I can't, I don't get that. That doesn't work for me. But for a season, I was willing to wake up 30, 60 minutes earlier to make sure I put my oxygen mask on first, and to make sure that before I jumped on my email and before I jumped on social media, what do I have to do to know that I am moving my business forward? How do I connect with people? How do I invite? And y'all, I will be honest, even though that was my job, was a recruiter, and to like cold call and stalk people, I hate doing that in this business. You know what I mean? Like, it's icky. I don't like it. But even now, while I'm home, like while I've been home with my kids, before I get on social media, before I do anything, first, and you know, if spending that time with the Lord and your faith is important to you, y'all, that needs to be the first thing we spend our time with every day. Because our minds and our life is like a sponge. And if we get up first thing in the morning and we're automatically feeling overwhelmed, or I didn't do all these things, that's where it has to start. So I had to shift that for me. You know, at first it was, I'm going to get up early so I can dive into my business. And then I just felt like I was running in the rat race all over again. And so now, you guys, like, even before I came home, I would wake up and I would dive into the word and I would pray. And if it took me that full hour that I had designated for my business, because I had so much to do, I needed to give him my first hour, because I knew that there was no way I was going to make it the rest of the day if he had not gone before me. You know what I mean? And so I think the first thing that I had to realize, and that I'm really encouraging you with right now, is figure out your set of priorities, your key priorities. Because for the longest time, I had it messed up. You know, I wanted to be successful in this business. I wanted to earn that extra income to pay down debt and, you know, remove that noose around our neck. But I was putting the business ahead of God, ahead of spending time with my husband. And, you know, if I call Big Cram up here, I joke around because one of the things that he always used to make fun of, like, he hates Halloween. If you ever, like, my husband hates Halloween. He's like, I'm a grown man. I can dress up whenever I want. I don't need a holiday. And he was so mad at me one year, y'all, that like, because every waking moment I was in my business. If I wasn't working or being mom with the kids, I was in my business. And he kind of dug at me. And we were outside hanging out with our neighbors. And he was like, I think I'm gonna dress up as an iPhone for Halloween because at least I'll get my wife to play with me. And y'all, everyone thought he was funny, and it was, but he was dead serious. And so the reason I say, no matter what season you're in, figure out what your priorities are and be unapologetic if it aligns with what Beachbody's telling you it should be, because you are living your life. And I had to change mine. God first. I love my kids, but I needed to put my husband next, my kids, and then my work. Like, work is down at the bottom. And it's not that I'm not going to show up, but what I realized was when that was out of alignment, nothing in my life was going right. And so while working that full-time job, it was finding things in the busy cracks of the day, you know. And I'm encouraging you guys, don't feel like you have to live on social media. And I tested this with my team. For 2 months, I hardly posted. This was before like you could do a quick like 15-second story. I hardly posted, but I was doing the things behind the scenes that were never going to be noticed publicly. I was having conversations. I was inviting, even if it was I'm walking to the bathroom or like to fill up my water bottle. If I had 5 minutes, I was working from a list, and I'm like, all right, I can send messages to Allie. I can send something to Charlie, and I'd send it, put it away. Because I knew if I didn't do those things, it didn't matter what else I posted on social media. You know what I mean? So figure out where those busy cracks are. And here's the question. Are you being a good steward of your time? Not creating extra hours. Are you being a good steward with the 24 hours that the Lord has blessed you with today? And if not, it's not an opportunity to self-bully or to invite shame or guilt in. It's just an opportunity to self-reflect and go, all right, what do I need to adjust? Right? And y'all, that's my business for the first 4.5 years. That's how it was built, in the busy mom cracks of my day. But then we also have to be obedient enough to unplug and to know that you're never going to be able to do it all. And trust me when I tell you, like, I have been in seasons where I'm like, I got to work, I got to hustle, I got to do all the things. And I was burned out and I lost the joy. And I don't know about you, but when there's no joy, there is no possible way that you're going to be able to show up for yourself or the people that you have been called to serve with the same level of excellence and love and excitement when you ain't feeling it. You know what I mean? And so part of what I want to share with you too is the transparency and the just kind of opening my own heart, because I will tell you guys, like, and I know I even used to follow coaches where it's like, oh my God, like they got to quit their job or they got to do this and that's awesome. Like, bleh, I want that. But y'all, can I tell you, even still, I'm scared to death. Even still, I am scared to death. And y'all, if I cry on this call, like, just love on me, because it is a season where the Lord continues to test me. But I want you to know, like, this time last summer, because I always knew that was eventually what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to be home. I see Sarah, I always cry. We're best friends. I'm a hugger and a crier. Like, I'm sorry, you know? I always knew that I wanted to be mom, and I wanted that time freedom on my time, but I was afraid because I made good money in my job. Like, there was a stability there, especially working on the corporate side. Like, it's kind of hard to leave because there's so much that's stable. And this time last summer, I felt God saying, it's time. It's time. You need to trust me. I've got something for you. And I fought him, y'all, for months, because the numbers didn't add up, because I wasn't making enough in my business, because there's no way. God, we've already gone through 2 adjustments where our incomes were decreased. And instead of using that in remembrance of when he's carried us through those seasons, I used it to be like, we were lucky those 2 times, God, but I don't want to take advantage. I don't believe what you're saying. And so I fought him. And I looked at the numbers and I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I'm not ready. You're calling me and I'm not ready. And when we were at Narrow, literally, and y'all, if you have not been to that event, like I am telling you, there is no summit, there is no super weekend, there is no professional development that I've ever been to that compares sitting in a room of other women with your laptop open, your Bible open, and everyone just like hands lifted, like bawling. And in that moment, the chatter of the fear and the what ifs and the burdens, it was silenced for the first time, and I can't even tell you how long. And very rarely, like, I'm not one, like, I hardly ever hear like his loud voice. I'm lucky if I get a gentle whisper and if I can figure it out, like Morse code. But in that moment, I very loudly heard him say, go. And the crazy thing was I knew that I wasn't ready. And I came home and I was like, babe, like to Jeremy, I'm like, babe, God told me I need to go. Like, and I think he means at this time. And he was like, really? Y'all, I gave a 2-month notice. 2 months. Numbers still didn't make sense. 2 months. Cause I was that scared. Like maybe like, you know, but y'all, the moment I did that, it wasn't because I was ready. And I had to go through this entire process 2 years before to have pride and ego and selfish ambition completely stripped away from my heart, because had I made that decision 2 years ago when I really wanted to, I would have failed. My marriage would have failed. My business would have failed. And I would have been that person on social media to have something to talk about and then go back, right? Like the thing that saved me is ultimately the same thing that's going to like chain me up. But I felt so just like this huge elephant got off my chest. But here was the thing. I did not know how to walk into this next season. It literally was walking into that wilderness, you know? And so for those of you who are on the phone now and, you know, you are home with your kids every day, or, you know, even if you are juggling that full-time job, we always will have those moments where we feel like we are being called and we know that we've been called in this direction, but it kind of feels like you're driving through foggy weather where it's like, I can't see the path. God, I don't see how I'm going to be able to make this work. I don't see where that finish line is going to be. But I think sometimes he's just telling us, focus on the first 5 feet in front of you and just take a step. Like, I just want to see if you're going to be obedient to take that next step. You know what I mean? And that's really where I had to start. And y'all, like, if I'm just being honest with you now, my business has not boomed like I thought it was going to when I came home. You know, it hasn't. It hasn't. But it's, yes, Angela says, trusting the process. You know, I'm not a quitter and neither are you. And sometimes we get called into these things where it's like, wait a minute, like, and I could very easily, you know, if I'm being honest, I've been angry at God. Like, you promised. Come on, Daddy, you promised. But here's the thing. You got to have faith that where you are right now is where you have been called to be. And I think that if we can all do a very like wholehearted reflection, like look at ourselves in the mirror. And if our business is not where we want it to be, we have to ask ourselves a couple questions. Number one, are we doing the last thing that he told you to do? Because if I'm being truthful with you, the times where I felt like I was getting tripped up and I was struggling, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And, you know, it's easy to ask everybody else and get their opinions, but if God is if God is the owner and I'm just the manager of what he's entrusted me with, I need to go to him first. Am I doing the last thing that he told me to do? Or am I trying to like, I think I got a detour, you know what I mean? But I think we have to give ourselves that honest evaluation. And if I'm being straightforward with you guys, I'm not always a good steward of my time. I'm not. I get sucked into the social media scroll. I get sucked into the lies of like, oh man, like I really want to share. Kelly, I was talking to her a couple weeks ago and I was like, man, I've been feeling convicted to like talk about this thing, but I've been sitting here for 20 minutes and I can't think of a title for a live video. So I just haven't pressed live. Like, you guys, we all have those moments where we sit and we pontificate stuff. And then we say we're working. I do it all the time, you know? And so we have to be able to take an honest evaluation and go, okay, if my time is stretched and if all I have are the pockets, how am I being a good steward of those pockets? Or am I getting distracted? And it's okay to get distracted, but it's just not okay to stay there. So we got to be really, really honest about that. The second thing that we have to do is you got to know where you're going, right? Man without vision will perish. Where are you going? And y'all, like, I'm okay with the fact that I will, if I hit Success Club 10, I did a good month, right? I'm okay with not recruiting 500 coaches this year. But here's the thing. The other piece of that is where I talked about your priorities. You gotta know what is important to you. Because I know Summer will attest to this. Some of y'all can probably attest to this. I want success, and I want that success I kind of like to be loved on and recognition just like anyone else does, but I don't want it just for me. I want to be a blessing for someone else. But here's the thing, I'm not willing to sacrifice the things that God has trusted me with for that platform, for people's approval. And y'all, there are people in this business. There are people in this business who are successful. They have the illusion that they have made it, right? Like they are crushing it. And behind the scenes, their marriages are falling apart. They're going back to the same things that they were addicted to, that they were bonded to before they started with this, because now the overwhelm and the stress and the pressure has consumed them. And I am sorry, my marriage is not worth success in Beachbody. I bind and rebuke that devil. No. Keep me. So and I say that, you guys, because for the longest time, I used the fact that, well, I work a full-time job and I have all these demands and, I've got to be mom to my babies. Like, if I didn't have all of these things, I'd be so much further along in my business. Have y'all said that before? If I didn't have this, I would probably be there already. And one of the things that I shared with my team that I want to just share with you is you have to honor and respect where you are right now. And the reason, and I sat back and I'm like, why am I still stuck? Why am I still stuck? No, God is holding me. God is holding you in the season where you are right now, because it's like going in school and you had to take a test before you got to go up to the next level or go to the next grade. Y'all, he loves you too much to have you graduate and not pass the test. So you fail the test, you go back and you learn the lesson. You fail the test, you go back and you learn the lesson. And for some of us, we are so stubborn. We are so stubborn and we are so prideful, like Italian ego right here, I will own it. We are so prideful that we are not willing to go, what can I do differently? And I have, you know what I mean? And what if it's not that you're really stuck? What if it isn't your circumstance? What if you are being held? What if you are being protected? And what if it's because you are maybe meant to be where you are right now? Not so much so you can crush it in your business or so you can learn a lesson. But one of the things that I realized, I was going in every day to my day job before I left. And I was like, y'all, get me out of here. Like, I am so ready to go and I'm over it. And I was so self-absorbed that I totally ignored the fact that there were people that I walked by every single day who were equally broken, who were equally silently crying out loud for something else to fix them. And here we are in this social media society. We want a friend request. We want to connect with all these people and form these relationships. And there's people that you see every single day. What have you done to serve them? And that was something that I realized, that in my job, maybe I wasn't going to recruit everyone to just leave Cardinal Health and come on Beachbody. But what I did realize was that there were people that needed someone to speak life over them, to give them some sort of hope and to open up some sort of door so they felt empowered to walk through it. But if I didn't take the time to go, okay, why am I still here? And who can I be a blessing to in this season? How can I be obedient to this job? Because if I can't be obedient here, I sure as heck am not going to be obedient when he calls me there. And maybe that's your kids. Maybe that's your babies. Maybe it's your spouse. where you are right now, who is it that is right in front of you every single day? And we see them, but we don't see them. And how can you honor and serve them with excellence where you are right there? And here's one of the things that I'll share with you guys, especially being home. My very first, like, I'm not even kidding you, kids got back from, or they started going back to school after winter break, and I was like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna when they're up, I'm gonna be mom. When they're at school, I'm gonna do my coaching thing, and then when they're home, I'm gonna be done. And that first Monday, they came home off the bus and they let themselves in the house because I was not ready. And I was like, give me 10 minutes. If y'all ever said, give me 10 minutes, that's usually code for I need an hour and a half, maybe. Right? And that's what happened. An hour and a half later, my husband came upstairs and he was like, this didn't happen. Like, you promised. So I think a lot of times we have those people that are already in our lives who will give us that tough love. And I used to be so spicy when Jeremy would like call me out on stuff because I'm like, I don't need you to tell me. But I needed to humble myself to my husband because he's not doing it because he doesn't want me to succeed. Because if I fail, we fail. And so I had to sit back and like, you're right. But y'all, here's the thing. We talk about accountability, right? Like, that's why our challenge groups work. Because every single one of us here is that accountability buddy to our customers who have already said yes to us. We are that accountability buddy to our team of coaches who are leaning to us for mentorship and guidance, but we also need accountability in our home. And sometimes that means just being willing to like take our hands off the wheel. And I'm so bossy. I really am. Like, sometimes you just gotta release a little bit. But after that first day, you guys, I did. And I not only made a promise to myself, but again, if you are doing the Lord's work, if you are doing kingdom work, you're not promising your kids, you're not promising your spouse, you're promising the Lord. And so because I made that promise with him, y'all, my kids get off the bus at 3:30. By 3 o'clock, I needed to make sure that I was done, just to give a 30-minute buffer in case something happened. But it then became my responsibility that when I said I was done, that I did not want any more of my kids going, hey mom, hang on 5 more minutes, hang on. Honor your family. Because if you can't be obedient with the small things, God's not going to bless us with the big things, y'all. And it don't matter where you are, whether you work outside the home, whether you work in the home. But know that that's okay. Because when he elevates you, right? When he elevates you, you're already going to have that rock solid foundation. And not only are people going to look at you and say, there's a light about her. And she does this business differently. And I don't know what it is, but I want to do what she does. Your family is going to be there as your biggest cheerleaders, not behind you while you're on the pedestal, but how awesome is it to have our family be the ones to link arms with us? Do you know what I mean? But it starts with you figuring out what it is that you are fighting for and what are your priorities. And if that means, like, I don't do corporate calls anymore. Like in those mastermind groups, I did them for a minute. I can't because it puts too much pressure on me, you know? And so you've got to be willing to protect your yes and no. So something I wanted to share with you guys before I let you go. I don't even think I have it up here. A really good personal development book. If y'all have not read it, or if you have, dig it back out and read it again. The Best Yes by Lisa TerKeurst. Amazing. I caught a 30-minute interview that she did with Pete Wilson, who was the former senior pastor at Crosspoint in Nashville. And y'all, I bawled my eyes out. So when I heard her talk about that book, I was like, yes. And I've read it like 5 times. Another really, really good personal development book for my sisters who are working outside the home and juggling this in the mom cracks. Quitter by John Acuff is equally amazing. So even if you're a podcast girl, like I love to pop the earbuds in, it is so good. And something that I really took away from that book is honoring the responsibility of where you are right now. And understanding that, knowing you're going to get there, John Acuff, Acuff. Time Management Mama. I heard really good things about Time Management Mama. Really good. I'm gonna add that one to my list, girl. But here's the thing, y'all. Like, I think at the end of the day, there's no secret sauce. You know what I mean? There really isn't. It's just, are you being a good steward with the time that you have? And are you honoring your priorities and unapologetically honoring them? Even when people think you're crazy. Like, y'all know how many people, like, even to this day, they're like, you quit your full-time job and you still ain't making up that money yet? Like, but y'all, the craziest things, the things that God always calls us to, they are never going to make sense. And in his kingdom, 5 + 2 don't equal 7. You got to know that. You know what I mean? Yes, all about obedience. So, but I would honestly, so I will shut up, because I know there are a lot of the mamas who are home with their, I would love for you guys to share, like, what has been the thing, the one thing or the collection of things, what has helped you all to manage your time?
This is really helpful, y'all. And if y'all have questions for her, like, well, how did you do this? Because something I think that's really powerful that she's talking about is like knowing your vision and knowing where you're going, and having your priorities. Like, and maybe you could speak to this too, Steph. Like, I think sometimes we struggle between like, I got to honor all these things, but you can still fit it in. Like, it doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means you got to be like super intentional about it. You know, I think for me in this season, I have to work from a list. Like, I have to work from a tracker, or I will waste hours. I actually give myself like 15-minute permission to squirrel before I work, just so I can get it out of my system. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, for me, my most productive days are in my office, not on my couch. Like lately, because of recovery, I'm on the sofa because I'm not going downstairs yet, but it's not been as productive, you know? And that has helped me. And like, I haven't been obedient to this, but I've been convicted to do it again. Is we have an extra phone in the house. So I used to turn my cell phone off every day at a certain time. And then the spare phone has no social media on it, and only a few people have the number. So that way I have it. Mm-hmm. And it was hard because sometimes I felt like I was missing an arm, because I would get restless and want to like fill the restlessness up, you know? And so I need to get back to that myself. But how would you say, like, when someone, I don't know if anyone feels this way, but sometimes when you hear these things, like, what helps you keep your confidence in your business when these things happen, or like your commitment to your business when it's crazy? You know what I mean? Like, what do you find helps you focus during those times? And then maybe kind of share like what your power hour process looks like, because we have a lot of emeralds on my team, so they always love like hearing what people do.
Girl, so first of all, I will tell you, like, the emeralds here, y'all rock emerald. And here's the thing, I feel like for you guys, like, I genuinely mean it. Our team, like, I mean, yeah, I want people to pop diamonds, but I'm like, duplicate emeralds. We are becoming an emerald factory, because it's simple and it takes that overwhelm out, instead of like, oh my God, I need to do all this. Like, no, become experts and just be emerald, 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 like, and just keep duplicating that. So I love my emeralds.
Oh yeah. I also meant they're like the personality type, like checklist, to-do list, and things like that.
So my power hour, and I'll give the example, especially now with my kids being home for the summer, because the last thing that I wanted to do was take everything that I was trying to cram, no pun intended, in the 6 hours when they were in school while they were home. And so you guys, like, I get up 4:30 in the morning during the week. I get up while I'm drinking my Energize, I'm reading the word, I'm praying, and usually by 5:30, depending on when I get up, the tingles are kicking in and I get my 30-minute workout in. By 6 o'clock, I'm committed to being up here in front of my computer, and from 6 to 8, I am like I'm trying to get a lot done in 2 hours. I connect, invite, follow up. And I'll share with you because I break it apart throughout the week so it's not doing all of it in chunks of the day. But the other thing too is, and I was always so bad at this because I never wanted to be that like tough, I don't want to say tough love mama, but I've had to learn with my kids, I'm like, y'all don't come out of your room until after 8 o'clock. Like you wake up and you stay in there and because here's the thing, I'm the mom, right? Like I get it. And I never used to be that way. I used to be like, oh, whenever. My kids are 10 and 8. So I get it. They're a little bit older. I can boss them around. I wish I could say that to Big Cram, like, you come out of the room at this time, but I can't. It doesn't go well. Like, I couldn't do that if they were babies. So mamas with little ones, I get it. Like that flex. But maybe your time window needs to adjust a little bit or be flexible. But what's really helped me is Mondays, because I hate inviting. I do all of my inviting on Monday, beginning of the week. So if I have 30 minutes, if I have an hour, oh my Lord Jesus, that's all I'm doing is I'm inviting. And so it's done. And then from that confidence standpoint, I know that even if I do nothing else the rest of the day, or depending on how much I was able to get done that Monday, even if the rest of my week is spotty, I walk with a little bit more confidence because, hey, the one thing that I need to do to at least move the needle in my business is asking, have you ever considered? And I did that at the very beginning of the week. You know what I mean? So that's been really helpful for me. And then, divide the rest of your weeks out. So like on Tuesday, I'll usually do stuff with my team. It's like our Team Up Tuesday. So I'm active in our group. We'll kind of brainstorm and we'll do mastermind stuff together with my runners. Wednesdays, I'll do connecting and, just building those relationships with people. Thursdays is usually kind of like, just gratitude. So even if it's following up with existing people and, hey, thank you so much for still walking with me, whatever. Friday, because I know people are checking out for the weekend, Friday is my day just to love bomb on people. That's all that I do on Friday. So a lot of my follow-ups are kind of sprinkled between Wednesday and Thursday. And that way too, it sets, if I'm doing all of my inviting on Monday, it gives me I'm adding to those funnels throughout the rest of the week. You see what I'm saying? But usually by the time I hit Friday, it's like, I know my people are exhausted. They don't want to be bugged, so I'm just going to love bomb on them. And at the very least, that'll give me names that I can add for my Monday list if something comes up. That for me has been super helpful.
Sorry, I was muted. No, that's really good. I think I think sometimes in seasons, chunking things and trying different things. And like for me, I know making myself do my invites first, which I don't always do, but making myself do them first so they're done. I don't know why I always wait to do them last. Still 6 years later, I'm like, okay. Someone asked, like, they felt like they spend a lot of time creating posts. When do you carve out time to create your posts? Like, do you plan your social media stuff in advance?
I am so bad at this. This is probably the one area that I really suck at. And if there's anything my husband complains that I do too much of is you spend too much time and you're so long-winded and blah, blah, blah. Because I do. I really do. Something that I've tried in my head thinking it helps. So I have an app. I don't know if it's on Android. It definitely is on iPhone. There is an app. It's called Awesome Note. And I don't know if y'all can see this. It's like a orange, looks like an A on the bottom. But what I like with that is because I kind of chunk my days, you can create your own folders. So I have on here like Monday through, Sunday. And if there's something that comes up, if I know that I want to share a transformation story on Tuesday, as I'm out and about, I can always pop in, add, like you guys see, I have a couple things saved in here that I just haven't used yet. But I can leave a little note or like if there's something that happens that maybe I don't have the time to craft a post, I can at least, okay, here's a couple ideas. And then while I'm sitting with my hubby while he watches ESPN, just to like, I'm sitting with you, I can work on it then. But I don't have a designated day where I probably should, but I don't.
But I like that too, because like a lot of y'all write really good, especially like, I'll do this where I'll see like what would be good engagement posts from other people, and I'll snag the photo and have it in mind. But if you put it in that, then you actually have like an engagement post folder, and you can recycle stuff. Or like Elizabeth, if you wrote like a transformation post, you could then save it in your folder and like save them so that you could when coaches share theirs in our team page, you could copy it into the folder. Do you know what I mean? And then edit it slightly, but you have a draft, so you're recycling content. Because I found when you recycle, like our virtual gym right now is like the 100 Days to Brave. We're reading it together. I've been recycling a lot of the posts and just editing them a little bit, and I feel like it's almost better for people to see the same image versus a different one every time. But I didn't know about that. I'll have to check that out, because you could organize it. So maybe you'll spend time writing it the first time, but then you can reuse some of it. I know for me, I'm a create the post on a fly kind of person. And then I go back and fix it because it has 20 typos. Like today, Angie pointed out that I said I had 1 million volume points more than I thought I did in my shout outs. She's like, you really had 27,000
27,000
like,
volume
no!
points.
I took it all down, and then I was like, I felt so bad. And Courtney's like, you didn't know. And I'm like, this is why I need another assistant. Because I don't ever do the volume post, and I did it, and I added an extra 2 to mine. Nobody said anything, but my point is, yeah. So anyway, I'm more on the fly, but I like that you could organize them there.
But I think the other thing too is, I think it's so easy for us to get away with, what is your jam? Like I do so much better when I can just talk to people. I'm not a very good writer. Like it's not a strength of mine. But I always doubt myself, because I'm like, well, what do I say and how do I word it? But like, I feel like when we can focus on living in our strengths and within our gifts and talents and just do that, so maybe that's a time suck for me, is I'm spending time taking, like I've got all these ideas, but if I don't implement them, then they're being stored.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so even among the craziness of where you guys are, figure out what you love doing. What is your gift and talent? And that's just how you share it, however it looks.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Oh yeah. Perfect images. We're going to talk a little bit about that next week with social media, but something that helps Angela is the Lightroom app. You can do filters, and then you don't have to like create stuff. You just literally, they have presets that are like bomb. Cause I think, but if you are a plant, like, cause Elizabeth's stuff's really good. Like her writing is really good, but I know you've told me it takes you a while cause she like really works on it. So maybe
I literally spent an hour and a half today writing the one post that I posted. And most of it was while Madeline was like playing, just like hanging out. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, yeah. And then I was like, I need to be on that call tonight because I need some time management in my life.
Well, and I wonder too, like something that Kayla said she did with the Instagram is she'll write a draft and leave it and then go back to it later, because then she spends less time on it. Like, so you could, in an awesome note or in your notes, like write your draft and then go back after you've kind of given it, because then you're almost able to edit it in your head while you're like actually playing and doing the stuff you need to do. And then you could go back and instead of working through it, because your posts are really good, but you don't need to spend an hour and a half. And I love how Stephanie said that she like had some seasons where she slowed her social media and she did more of the inviting, connecting, and love bombing. Like, y'all, one good post a day is all you really need. And then pop on your stories and like share yourself cooking dinner and share yourself working out and your picture of your kids doing something cute. Like, I love that that's changed, because we used to, back in the day, it was like 3 to 5 times a day, one for each of your pillars. And I'd be like, what? Holy, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, and then you think of like the duplication of it, you guys. So like, because that was something that I struggled with, because all of like my upline, my entire upline organization is all a bunch of stay-at-home moms. And I'm like, I love you and I want to be like you when I grow up, but I can't. Like, I can't do that. So you're telling me in order for me to be successful, I got to do that?
Right.
Right? And so that's, if there's one like bonus nugget I can share with you guys, it's that, you know, the things that you are doing will ultimately translate, whether you mean it to or not. It's going to teach your coaches how to be successful in this business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are that full-time working mom, fitness in the cracks, and you're always online, the person that does not have the ability to do that in their day job is going to feel frustrated because they're like, I can't keep up with you. I can't do that. And the stay-at-home mom, if you're always on your phone, that's going to discourage the mom who wants, like, not that we don't want to be present with our kids, but like, hey, look, I may have 10 minutes while my child's napping, God forbid. Like, so I think we have to look at it through that filter too, of not just what works with our schedule, but showing other people what is possible through how we work our business and through how we live our life. You know what I mean?
I agree. No, that's so good. I think because as a mom who stays home, are raising our kids, a lot of these moms homeschool too. I mean, that's a full-time job. You're just doing it in your house.
Yes.
And so when I have to look back and do a time audit of my work, I on a, like, to do everything I need to do needs 2 hours a day, 3 max. So if I actually see how much I'm on my phone because of that lovely update for the iPhone, I'm like, whoa, I'm not working. Otherwise I'd be a bazillionaire. You know what I mean? But I'm not. But I love also how she talked about being obedient in the small things. And then, you know, knowing where you're going and realizing that. And Brad Bijak in that some of us are doing the Appreciation Academy with him talks about that. He says, you know, instead of asking like, why am I not where I want to be yet? Like, what can you do to prosper where you are right now? And that helps you move forward, you know? And so, there's a lot of people here who are on the brink of just some big growth in their business, and they've been sitting there for a while, myself included. And it just helped for me. I was talking to Stephanie this week about that. Like, I was like, I just feel like God's telling me, just trust me. And I'm like, I've been trusting you. And he's like, we'll keep doing it, you know? And she reminded me, like, just be obedient where you are right now. And obedience is doing the things. It's not just sitting there expecting God to like write your invites for you, but you know, but this is really helpful. I think it just helps y'all. The Best Yes is a great book. Right. As long as you want to trust, I know. Don't pick that word as a word of the year, trust. It's I've never picked it. I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. Do y'all have any other questions for her? I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I know it's just helpful, like I said, hearing stories, like, you know, and knowing your story is impacting other people too. Also, so don't think, I love how you shared just every piece of it, because it's not perfect, and you don't want it to be like it, you know, it's real and authentic, and she's able to do what she wants to do and be home. And like, there's moms that are working like part-time youth ministry jobs that want to be able to be home. And we have a couple moms that are nurses, and another girl that's a nurse and out on tonight. They're probably working, and like, they want to be able to do this. And so I think it helps to hear, like, not only to work your business, but to listen for when it's like, I remember, and then we'll pray and get off the call because I could talk all the time. Sorry. But I remember Courtney when I first started working, it was partially because he was doing a lot of, he wanted to go back into school, and he got hired to be a principal of a high school, and it lined up that my Beachbody income made up the difference. So we were like, we can do this. That job turned out to be a nightmare. Like, for him, it was awful. He was working 80 hours a week. And I was like, Lord, what in the world? And I started to doubt, like, why did he do this? But I'll tell you, the next 2 years were that next year was one of the biggest growths in my business and growths in our marriage. And it was a growth year. And so sometimes your growth financially comes after your emotional growth, because we listened, you know? And so, like, now we're praying about the things that we're trying to decide. And it's like, you know, I'm like, well, we're not listening. We're just trying to plan and not listening. So I think that take some time to listen and set the goals, and I think my son just stomped on the floor. Nobody sets a goal and doesn't walk towards it, but know if he's put it on your heart, like the vision I have of our team and the growth, it's not changing. And then seasons, it's gotten crazy. Like I remember a couple months ago, I was like, Lord, do you want me just to quit? Do you want me just to quit? And he was like, no, no, because there was there was a lot of doubt, and a lot of, there's seasons of darkness. Like I love the analogy of the fog. I've had it, and I don't hop on and go live that day and be like, yo, I'm walking through a fog and I want to quit. Like, it's not what you do, but you go through it. And then once you've gone through it, you testify to how you got out of it. And to me, it's been our team. And then also having coaches like Steph or Amy Plavick that are friends of mine that are outside of our team walls, and and as you guys are linking arms with each other, as we're all down line, up line, cross line, so you're not by yourself. You have someone, like you said, that accountability piece, So I think it's important for all of this. And I think it's, time management focus comes when you have a focus of where you're going and who you want to be. And my whole business changed 4 years ago when I got asked, if you could be anything and not fail, what would you be? And everyone was saying, I'd be a movie star or a model or an author. And I was like, I'd be a peaceful mom, because I had awful anxiety. And when I started focusing on that, things changed. And when I swing away from it, things fall. And when I focus back on it, and being a peaceful wife and mom actually grew my business. What do you know? It wasn't, I had to become whatever. So thank you for being here tonight. And I just appreciate your time, and I know that you guys, for those listening to the recording, if you have questions, that I can send them her way, and I'm excited that we got to have this time with you. And we usually close in prayer, and I was going to ask, would you pray, because you're like a fire, hose of Holy Spirit.
Girl, I would love to. Okay. Y'all, thank you so much for letting me lean in with you guys. All right. Oh, Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for being so good and so faithful. Thank you for always calling us in places where you will go before us, and for reminding us that you've already fought the battle. And so our desire and our need to show up at these levels that we are not equipped or prepared for, God, thank you for those moments where you will humble our hearts. And we just thank you for this season right now, where you can remove the scales from our eyes and just let us see where you have us firmly planted. And God, thank you for the reminder that, the feeling of being buried and the feeling of being planted looks the same, but the difference is what you do when we are in that darkness. And so, Father, we just thank you that Jesus is our light, and we thank you that a way has already been made, and that no matter what season we are in right now, in our business, in our homes, in our personal life, God, that you have us exactly where we are meant to be, that we were made and created for a time such as this. So we thank you for encouraging us to be bold, to be courageous. We thank you for the reminder that we are fearlessly and wonderfully made, and when the lies of the enemy try and come against us with guns a-blazing, that we can trust to just suit up in your armor every day and be still in your promise that you have for us over our business. So, Father, we thank you for this season where you have us in, even if it doesn't make sense, even if we are currently in the fog. And God, we ask for your strength. We ask for your wisdom and discernment as we focus on those next 5 feet in front of us. And we surrender our agenda. We surrender our goals and our selfish ambition. We just lay them at your feet. And we come to you and say, God, do with me, do with us what you will. And at the end of the day, your will be done, that it's all for your glory. Father, we love you. We thank you for this community. We thank you for this sisterhood. And we thank you for an opportunity to serve you and to lift your name up. We love you, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, girl. You're such a gift. I can't wait to
I
hug
love
you. I'm not joking about cul-de-sac, workouts, water guns, houses, pool.
We all need to take, so we've got our 10% tithe. We need to come up with there's another number that just goes into a pot, and we can all just buy an island or something.
We could have a wagon wheel. We'd have goats. We'd have chickens. We'd have mimosas. We'd have a library, coffee shop.
I love it.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Have a good night.
Thank y'all.
Bye.